Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Coders Startup Podcast. We have reached episode 39, which is the age that my mother has been for the last, I don't know how many years. God bless you, mother. So this is, episode 39. The other thing that's significant about this episode is this is being posted, I think, on September 3rd, if my calculations are correct, which means that as you are listening to this, potentially, I will be on an airplane flying out to my honeymoon. So when you listen to this, I'm already married, which is going to be great, and we're going to be going on the honeymoon, so that is also going to be great. So if you happen to message me or leave a comment or whatever, email me when this goes live, and up to 10 days after this goes live, you probably won't hear from me because I'm hopefully going to be turning off all of my electronics and soaking in the sun and drinking Mai Tais. So very excited. Anyway, as always, Carter's been nodding his head and smiling. I'm also joined today by the right-hand man, Carter the Marketer Johnson. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, man?
Today is an interesting day. A couple things have happened, and again, I'm the optimist with this stuff. But I figured because I was excited about what it is that's sort of happening, and it sort of ties in well with the topic that I want to be talking about today, which is something I don't think, have we talked about it at all yet on this show?
I think we mentioned it before. I want to say we talked a little bit about it, maybe like one of the first 10 episodes. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know though. I don't know. So.
We might have glanced by it, but I don't think we've actually gone into depth about the topic, which I'm sure you guys are already aware of because you probably read the title of this podcast. But to break the tension for those of you who haven't, we're going to be talking about copywriting. And this is one of those key words, terms, whatever, buzzwords in the industry, in the entrepreneurship industry that I wasn't familiar with as a programmer coming into this stuff. And when I heard the term copywriting, I thought they were just referring to, a copyright material, like when it comes to music or whatever, right? So
yeah, that's the first time I ever heard of it. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, so the first thing I can say to those of you thinking about copyright laws is no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about copywriting with respect to the words and sentences and the flow of the English language or whatever language it is that you're using to sort of make a sale, whether it's a sale in terms of hard dollar value sale, whatever, or if it's just converting someone into even a lead. So just doing the simple process or even transaction, I like to call it a transaction, of taking a website visitor and turning them into an email subscriber. You can also, utilize copywriting to better your chances of converting someone into an email lead or, like I said, a sale. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because I've done a bunch of research on copywriting of late, and I hired a professional copywriter, and I'm actually paying this gentleman some cash to do a revamping on my products in terms of my copywriting, and I've had a bit of a result already that's come through. So that's what we'll be talking about in the episode. How's that sound, Carter?
Sounds great. Sounds exciting. Great. Let's dive into it. Yeah.
You're itching to dive into it, I suppose.
I'm itching.
Good. So the stuff that I sort of will be talking about is it with respect to a website called Copyblogger. I think is it copywriter or copyblogger.com? Let me just double check on that. Copyblogger.com. Well, I crack my neck. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. So these guys are, somewhat of an authority when it comes to writing copywriting. And they have a whole bunch of different sort of products, and they even have an area where you can register for free and get access to a bunch of ebooks. So I did that. I registered for free and I got access to these ebooks, and I already read through one of them, which is 100 pages. So essentially what I'm going to be talking about today is with respect to their Copywriting 101 ebook guide that was about 100 pages that I'm now going to hopefully distill into a reasonable amount of time. So here we go. And feel free, Carter, to jump in and add any details as you see fit as I'm going through this. But yeah, this ebook, fairly well written, and the immediate thing that it jumps into when it starts off is the immense importance of writing good headlines. So typically when you hear the word copywriting, you're going to hear the word headline, and they're almost synonymous. They're not, but they're almost synonymous because that's just how important headlines and headline creation and writing really is.
Yeah, and I'll chime in there.
Yeah, go for it.
Since you gave me the invite, but just to help you understand how important headlines are, a few of the companies that you've heard of that have received just amazing, astronomical, out of this world valuations, like overnight, Viral, Nova, Buzzworthy, and then Upworthy. Those are all, or BuzzFeed. What is it? Whichever one.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is they built their whole business and credit so much of it to headlines. A lot of people call it like clickbait or whatever, but the bottom line is, the power is definitely in the headlines. So just think about that a little bit while Trevor's talking about this.
Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly what I got. Again, I'm going to try to distill this book down into a reasonable amount of time, but there was so much language in the book around forcing the importance of the topic of headlines. And it's kind of like the 80-20 of copywriting. If you can spend 80% of the time just focusing on headlines, I guess that's not a good 80-20. It's the other way around. 20% of the work that you do with respect to learning about copy with respect to headlines will give you 80% of the results. I think that's the right way to do the 80-20. But in any case, if you just focus all of your effort on headlines, you'll get a really good bang for your buck. In any case, why are headlines so important? Well, they say headlines are the very first thing that people will see when they land on your website or your sales page or your lead page or your blog, whatever it is. The natural progression of your eye as a human being goes right to the headline. That's the first thing that we see, and that's the first thing that we read and process. And what happens is, as we read that first headline that appears on a page, we will make our split decision on whether or not we want to continue consuming this particular web page. It's well documented that we have shorter attention spans than goldfish. And that absolutely holds true when it comes to writing copy and reading headlines. We'll read it. If we don't feel like it's triggering anything inside of us on an emotional level, we'll just bounce off and go somewhere else. So the first headline is the most important, and the next headline is the next important, and the next headline is the next important, and so on and so forth. The purpose of each headline. The sub-headline. Sub-headline. There we go. Good correction.
Yeah.
The purpose of each headline is to sell them on reading the next one, right? Every single one is trying to get them to read more and more and more. That's what the purpose of headlines are really for. So uber important, hugely important. Never underestimate the power of writing headlines. And even I've heard people talk about this all the time where they say, whatever amount of time that you spend creating a piece of content. So if you're writing an article, or you're creating a sales page or a landing page or a squeeze page, whatever it is that you're creating, you should take whatever time that you spent on that, half of that time that you spent, you should then reinvest into writing the first headline, or even writing maybe the headline and a sub-headline, because that's how important it is. You should spend that much time pondering, thinking about it, and putting the effort into that. So
do they, and you may be going into this, do they talk much about what makes a good headline?
Absolutely. I have got a six.
Are we going into that?
Guide? Yeah.
Okay, great.
So
I'll just hold my thought.
Now that I've wasted however much time just drilling into your heads how important headlines are, let's continue. It's all about, first we focus on benefits. This is another very common thing in copywriting. You always want to talk about the benefit to the reader. What is the benefit to the reader for them to continue reading this piece of content, whatever the content is? What is the benefit to the reader to watching this sales video? What is the benefit to the reader, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? It's always about benefits. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about benefits versus features in a little bit later, hopefully in this episode, if I don't ramble too much, because that's often something that people get confused about, is what's the difference between a benefit and a feature. So yeah, like I said, we'll get into that. But how about this? We'll dive into how to sort of create a headline. I suppose we can do that now. There's actually 8 different kinds of headlines. I don't want to dive into each of the different kinds of headlines right now. If you want to, you can go to Copyblogger. You can sign up with them for free. There's no kickback that we get from this. You can just go straight to copyblogger.com and just sign up for free. And you can get their 101 guide to copywriting yourself and read about this. But there's 8 different types of headlines that sort of have stood the test of time when it comes to copywriting. So when I say that, I mean all the way back to like, magazines and printing press and like newspapers. And, these are headlines that people will react to and actually in a good way and actually keep going and reading more. So it's influential sort of headlines. The ones that stood out for me the most are the how-to headlines. It's an actual type of headline is how-to. And it's funny, when I applied that knowledge to our podcast, you look at the most downloaded episodes of the Coder Startup, the most downloaded episode is, I think, episode 6, which is how to price your product. For some reason, that one stands out amongst all the episodes that we've released. And I said, oh, look at that. That's a how-to headline that I just accidentally wrote way back when. And the beauty about how-to headlines is you can't really screw them up. As long as it starts with how-to and it ends with something that sounds beneficial to the person, then it's going to work. So a great example is how to price your product. That's a great headline, apparently. Anyway, so yeah, there's 8 different kinds. That's one of them. You can go and read more about it. I think it was on like, I forget, it was like page 10 or 12 of the guide, if you want to dive into it. But having said that, how do you write a good headline? Okay, so there's essentially 6 questions that you need to ask yourself about writing the headline when you write your headline. The first question is, does the headline offer a reward for reading? The first thing is about a reward. So not just, how to price your product is great because they can kind of, they kind of get what it is that they are going to receive as a reward for listening to the episode. You're going to, at the end of it, hopefully you should learn exactly how to price your product. So maybe that is a good headline. But the next one, I think, is that you get into something specific. Okay, so when you get into, you could say how to price your product in under 2 hours or something like that, where you add a bit more in terms of specificity, if that's a word, right? Yeah, I think it is a word. So that gives you even more detail as to what it is that you're going to get out of reading this article or listening to this podcast as a reward. The reward is you're going to learn how to price your product, and you're going to be able to do it in this specific amount of time. You can apply it to, I'm sure there's tons that you can apply. We see it all the time with like, download this free guide and learn, how to use these 7 tools in under 15 minutes. Or you can see something that says, hint, 6 out of 7 are free. Or there's, just a little bit more that you can add to that headline just to add the little bit of specificity to it, as well as intrigue. Okay. Another big thing that they talk about is what could you do to make the headline more intriguing and believable? So you can't go too far off the deep end and say how to, for example, how to learn how to program in under 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. And how many times throughout the day do we see just that bogus headline, like learn how I made $472,000 this week? Like, yeah, I mean,
that's entirely possible for people, but that's probably for people who've already been in business for 15 years and have a spare savings account, full of millions of dollars.
Yeah. But I mean, basically, when someone's trying to sell me an information product like that, doesn't work. Your eyes glaze over. Yeah, because we're not gullible anymore, at least for the most part, because we've been through all of this before. We've probably been burned at some point in our past, and now we're not babies anymore. We're not 6 years old, and we can be sold on the idea of going to Disneyland when we're really going to the dentist or something like that. Not that that's ever happened to me. So that's recap. That's 3 I've talked about already. But yeah, first of all, it needs to offer a reward for reading. We need to add specifics. What specifics can you add to make the headline more intriguing and believable? The third is, does the headline trigger a strong, actionable emotion the reader already has about the subject? So this one's a bit tougher. This one's a bit more touchy-feely. What sort of emotion can you ignite inside of someone with your headline? And I can't think of a good example of one. Can you think of something that would elicit an emotional reaction in a headline? You're putting me on the spot.
I know. We're men. It's tough to talk about emotions.
Yeah, that's a tough one right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
you
don't know.
could
I can't think.
these ones could be going into, pain is an emotion, right? So if you are trying to dig into a pain that a person is having, well, like you can go back to the how to price your product. That's definitely a pain that people have. Like they don't know, like, how much should I charge for my product? I don't know. What if I charge too much and people think I'm just a joke and that they're going to make fun of me and they're going to, ream me out on public, spaces, and I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm never gonna have another customer ever again. Or what if I price my product too low and I get all these customers and I lost, there's all this money that's on the table that I potentially lost out on because I'm not charging enough. And it's such a big decision. And I don't know what to do like that. There definitely are emotions that go along with
Yeah.
the concept of pricing your product. So that definitely hits on the topic of what sort of emotions are you tying into, right?
If you're interested in like the emotional headlines, I would go on ClickBank and I would look at all the dating products and info products and stuff and look at their headlines. Because typically, like the top selling ones have done so much testing around headlines, and a lot of times they are, more geared towards the emotional tug side of things. So
Right.
I would check that out.
As you find out later in this ebook, we are such emotional creatures. Even, like I said, us men who are, typically, hypothetically speaking, mostly very logical beings. So we usually make the left brain is the logical side, I think. We're typically more left-brained as men, and we think we're very logical, and we can look at the price of product and try to weigh benefits versus pros versus cons, and is it really worth the money they're asking me for? But really, that's not what happens when it comes to buying decisions, because a lot of it is emotional. A lot of it is, I don't care if this is a $2,000 product. My pain is so great that I just want to solve it, and I don't care if it's $2,000, right? That's why we spend the money that we do. And it's not until afterwards that we'll try to, like, if it goes bad, we try to make ourselves feel better about the potentially bad investment that we made, by trying to, make excuses for why it was a good decision. There's a lot of emotions.
Still justifying, the whole purchase and everything.
So there's a lot of emotions that go along with it. So don't just think that, even if your target audience, just like mine, my target audience is probably 90% men because I'm in programming. Even though it's 90% male dominated market, I'm still need to make use of these emotional tactics to tie into, the pains that they're feeling, right? So, okay. Number 4 now is, does your headline present a proposition that will instantly get your prospect nodding his or her head? So what that really means is, are you identifying the right pain? Because that's really all it is. Are you identifying the pain or the conversation that's already going inside of the person's mind, and you're making them say, yeah, okay, I totally relate to that. I'm totally struggling with that, or what have you. So you have to make some sort of a connection, and that's tough to do if you don't previously know who your audience is. So that's where, if you don't know your audience, if you don't know what they're thinking or what their pains are, you need to survey them. Okay, there's plenty of survey products out there. The popular one that's actually not that great is SurveyMonkey. You can go and survey your audience for free, and you can get up to whatever 100 responses per survey back. So that should give you a lot of data points on what it is that's going on inside of your prospect's mind. So get them nodding their head. Yes, I get it. This is an issue that I'm dealing with. So,
are you struggling with writing headlines?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Would you like to learn how to write a headline that converts at X number of percent in under 15 minutes? Yes, I would. That sounds wonderful. That's a great headline. Or rather, let's start with how to write a high converting headline in under 15 minutes. How good is that headline? I just came up with that off the top of my head by writing these, or by following these rules. All right, let's breeze through the last 2. So 5 of 6. With how to write a good headline. 5 of 6. Could it benefit from the inclusion of a proposed transaction? I was a bit confused as to what they meant by this, but I'm assuming what they're talking about is, when they say proposed transaction, I'm assuming they're talking about something like subscribe. Could you subscribe to my newsletter, or you know, picking this up for under $20. Perhaps there's some sort of proposed dollar amount or proposed action that these people need to take that is a bit more of a higher ask, if you will. It's not just read my stuff, it's give me something in return. I believe that's what they mean by this headline, because they didn't dive into what it meant. They just breezed by it in their text. So is that what you get out of it? The inclusion of a proposed
I think so. That's worded a little funny.
Yeah.
But
that one I don't like. For the sheer, it's not very clear. I don't necessarily know what they're talking about. Anyway, last one is, could you add an element of intrigue to drive your prospect into your opening copy? Again, we've already talked about intrigue. So last two, I don't like their top 6. I think they were just looking for 6 items. Really, it's a top 4 that you need to talk about. So does it offer a reward? Get specific about it. Be intriguing. Tailor to their emotions, and make sure they're nodding their head yes or no. Well, not hopefully not no, but yes to your headline. So there you go. There's my spiel on how to write a good headline. Do you have anything to add to writing good headlines, good sir?
I always liked Dave Maxwell's formula. It talked about the end results in the amount of time. The end result amount of time backed with the guarantee. Does that make sense? So it was like,
I would say that a guarantee. We're going to talk about guarantees in a second. I don't think that that's part of the headline per se, but that's definitely part of the offer.
It's not. It's it's like Domino's delivered hot and fresh to your door in 60 minutes or less, or it's free.
Right.
So that was like the guarantee. And like, his whole thing was, if you had all 3 of those, you had a dynamite headline. And I still think that's probably one of the best formulas I've ever heard. That's
a very good point. Now that you said that, it's funny. They actually talk about Domino's Pizza in this ebook. They also talk about 2 other companies, and I'll get to that in a second. But Domino's was sort of one of their golden boys, with respect to the success that they've had with just something as simple as that. Because Domino's Pizza is not the best pizza in the world by any means.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably my 4th favorite pizza that you can get. But, if it's delivered for free, if I can get it for free, that's pretty appealing, right? So, good stuff. So like you said, transformation. I like to use that word as well, not just end result. I like to talk about the transformation that they're going to make in a specific period of time and guarantee it. Cool. Very good. There's also a good flow portion of the ebook that talks about the structure and the flow of your copy. So how to structure your page and what sections to put where, that type of thing. It was a long section. I think it was from page 17 to like 24 or something like that. There's a lot in there. And but if you're wondering, if you're scratching your head about how to structure your copy in the page, then there you go. Just flip through those pages. It's great stuff. I don't want to go into it because it's very, very specific, and you can just read through it and get the benefits from it. So the one I want to talk about is features versus benefits. I hinted at that at the beginning of this, and how there's a difference between a feature and a benefit. And it's hard to tell the difference. And they say sometimes you think you're creating a benefit, but you're actually creating like a fake benefit, which could actually kill your copy. So one thing that they talk about is, in the market of, let's say you've got a product that will help people with they've got diabetes. So they have to deal with this stuff, and they want to find a good way to make themselves healthy with respect to the diabetes that they're struggling with. So the sort of fake benefit headline that they use as an example is, balance your blood sugar levels naturally. So, okay. As a diabetic, I would be definitely interested in balancing my blood sugar levels, because that's the name of the game when it comes to diabetes. At least I don't have it. I don't necessarily know what it's all about, but I would assume that's a big portion of dealing with diabetes, is balancing your blood levels. And they say balance your blood sugar levels naturally. So, okay, neat. There's a little bit more there, and cool. That might get me interested. But that's not really the benefit. And the way they get you to know that that's not a very good benefit is to do what they call a forehead slap test. So to do a forehead slap test, you got to think, will you ever wake up from a deep sleep with an epiphany and you slap yourself on the forehead and say, oh my God, of course I need to balance my blood sugar levels naturally? I'm assuming you wouldn't do that. You never would.
Probably not.
Yeah, no, because that's not the epiphany that you have. You don't have an epiphany about balancing your blood sugar levels naturally. So it has to be this epiphany that your people, your potential customers will have with respect to the copy that they're reading. If you can make them, do the forehead slap test and say, "Oh my God, of course, this is the solution to my problem," then you've got something that's probably a very good candidate to being a benefit. So that's sort of what they get into, and they say the real benefit is to the program, to balancing your blood sugar levels naturally, is avoiding all the bad stuff that can happen with respect to diabetes. So your foot falling off, or you're losing your vision, so they really talk about diving into that as a benefit, as opposed to just one thing that you can do, which is to balance your blood sugar levels. So I don't know. I felt that's a pretty good way to tell the difference. But they actually have a system that they outline, which with respect to how to get to benefits from features. Because a good example with me and my product that I sell with respect to training people on how to program, I was listing a lot of features when I first created my sales page. Here's an example of my features. I was saying, learn how to program in Java with 45 hours of lectures. That was like my main benefit that I was listing, which wasn't a benefit. It was just a feature. 45 hours of content. I figured that was a benefit, but it's not a benefit because it could be 45 hours of just garbage, and that's not going to help anyone out, right? That's not compelling to someone to say, okay, there's 45 hours of stuff, but what stuff am I going to be getting? There's no benefit there. That's just a feature, 45 hours. So they go through the list of sort of 4 things that you can do to turn features into benefits. And the first thing you do is you write down your feature. So the feature for me is 45 hours of content. That's a feature. But then you ask yourself, well, why is that feature included? Why are you saying there's 45 hours of content? What's the real reason behind that? So for me, the real reason behind why I was saying there's 45 hours of content is because I was saying it's a comprehensive course. And because I was saying it takes you from knowing nothing to being almost an advanced level programmer, right? These are the real starts, the benefits that you're going to get out of the feature. So then you say, okay, you take yourself, you take the why. So the why is the feature included. Why is there 45 hours of content? Why are you saying that? Well, because it's a very comprehensive course. So now you say how, take the why and ask yourself how it satisfies the reader's desires. So what is the desire? What do the readers have what do they desire from this whole prospect of learning how to program? Well, their desires are, well, maybe I want to land a job as a programmer, or maybe I just want to keep my mind sort of active because some of my customers are getting in their retirement age and phase of life, and they just want to keep active, keep their minds going. They could be in school and they're trying to help catch themselves up with their studies because their professors are crap, or so on and so forth. So what are their desires, right? There's different desires there, but you take the why, which is why the feature is included, which is it's a comprehensive course, and you say, hey, this comprehensive course will give you the best opportunity to land the highest paying job as a programmer, or the best opportunity to keep your mind active in your retirement stage of life, or the best opportunity to so on and so forth. So you get to the absolute root emotional level that your reader is feeling. So what is the reason, the emotions behind why they're even searching for you and looking for you in the first place? Very important to understand that, and very important to structure your benefits around that. So thoughts, comments?
No, I think you're in the zone. You're rolling with it.
I'm rolling with it. I like this stuff because, like, I'm not an expert at copywriting.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that I read one book and I've had 3 years of writing headlines and doing some stuff. But yeah,
and you're a lot better than I am. I'm not. I used to be a lot more interested in copywriting and stuff, but for whatever reason, I'm not like a strong interest in copywriting, but it's so valuable. So this is good stuff.
It is insanely valuable. And here's where, before I go further down this sort of rabbit hole, I'm going to talk about making an offer, a compelling offer, and making a good guarantee. That's what I'll get into next. But before I jump into that, I want to talk about some of the results that I've seen thus far with respect to my copywriting stuff. So, like I said, I hired a sales guy. If you've been listening to our income reports, you know all about Steve and the sales copy, or the copywriting guy that I've hired, how much he costs and how long he's been working with me for. So finally, I think it was yesterday. By yesterday, I mean August 12th, even though this is coming out September 3rd. I know there's a bit of a gap there. But as of August 12th, sometime in the late afternoon, early evening, I published my new video sales letter and my new sales page. So a new sales page had different copy, had a much different headline. So the headline that I have on, well, let me actually get the headline that I have on there now to see if there's anything we can dissect from it. But this page, the video sales letter has a brand new script that was written by my sales guy, or sales copy guy, and it focuses around a central benefit. The central benefit that I'm focusing on is landing a job as a programmer. Because a lot of my customers are people who are trying to make the jump from a first career into a second career. So maybe they're a quality assurance analyst or something like that for a company, and they want to jump in and become a programmer. Or maybe they just are working as a completely different field. Maybe they're in the trades or something like that, and they want to just land a different job that's not so seasonal maybe. So they go through the course. So one thing that we stress in the copy inside of the email sequence that I send out is the importance of knowing how to be sort of a full stack developer, knowing how to create an entire web application from start to finish. So one thing, the first headline that you see here is it says build your own web application from scratch with the interactive Java supercourse. And the subheadline says master Java and create a fully functional web application for your portfolio in as little as 6 weeks. So he's got the word master at the very beginning of that subheadline. That's one of the sort of 8 ways that you can start a headline, is to use a strong sort of verb at the beginning of your headline. So that's how he structured it. He used the word master. Master Java, create the fully functional web application. Okay, that's something that we've stressed about in our copy already, and how important that is to be able to create that for your portfolio, which is something that we'll stress later with respect to being able to show it off in an interview setting to land a job in as little as 6 weeks, which is obviously the time specificity or whatever. So there's a lot of different elements in that headline that he built into it. And having said that, and going through the video sales letter, which is 19 minutes long of me talking, so there's no way I'm going to be able to sum up everything for you. But having said that, in the last 24 hours of it being live, I've made 2 sales. So it could be an absolute coincidence, but of late in the summer, I tend to make 2 or 3 sales a week. So to have 2 sales come in 24 hours after I publish this video sales letter and this new sales page, again, could just be a coincidence. I'm the optimist, but it's a bit promising. I'm a bit excited about the future. So I guess in the next episode, I'll be talking about maybe more about whether or not it worked or not. But yeah, that just goes to show. I mean, if the sales continue, it just goes to show what a difference good copywriting actually does make. So huge benefit. And having said that, as a side note, just as an aside, I talked with, this is what I was talking to Carter earlier about, I had a meeting this morning with one of our mutual friends, Mitch. And I was trying to remember with Carter what it was that I got from the conversation with Mitch. And I just remembered now, it came to me. We were talking about the summer. I was complaining about how my sales have dropped in the summer. Mm-hmm. And I believe that was the cause. And he was like, "Oh, dude, 100%." And he said, I'm sure you told me this already, Carter, but it's very, so spans quite a few industries that suffer in the summer because of, the kids are home. So parents are busier with their children, looking after them and whatnot. People are outside at barbecues and family get-togethers and
vacations. People are
vacation.
traveling, all sorts of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a very extended Christmas season. If you're not in the summer, if you're not selling barbecues, then you're probably not going to be doing as well, which is why you see a lot of summer blowout sales.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, of course, which is funny because I'm going to be running a flash sale starting tomorrow for my course.
Nice.
I'm discounting it heavily and sending it out to, doing it for 4 days to my whole list. So hopefully that'll be a good little, flip the switch cash infusion before my wedding. Before my wedding now, but obviously when you're listening to this, I've already had the wedding. It's that time thing that happens. But anyway, that was
time travel.
That was interesting to know that it really is
and
industry wide.
And I'm sure Mitch, sees it as well, because he's also in. I mean, he's not targeting programmers, people who want to learn coding, but artists, people who are, looking to learn some skill set to develop either a career or, while they're in school or whatever. So that makes a lot of sense why he would see it too.
Yeah. And if there's any aspiring artists out there, potentially there are. I mean, with a group of programmers, probably not. This is probably the worst group to say this to. But if you're interested in learning how to draw, you can go, what is it? It's pencilkings.com.
Pencil Kings, yeah. And even more importantly, Mitch is a super smart guy. And he's done, a ton with that business over the years to make it really just a great company. So head on over there and check out what he's doing. Learn from people who are already doing it well. And I know Mitch knows a lot about copywriting and all sorts of stuff. So I'm sure the things that you see on his site, he's tested over and over and over, and he's done a really good job building up that business.
Yeah. So there you go, Mitch. If you're, he doesn't listen to the show, but there you go. He might get a few listeners from the Coder Startup going over and checking his stuff out.
There you go.
Good conversation, good eye-opening, experience. And he even, I think he said to me, are you prepared for September? And I was like, what do you mean, am I prepared for September? He's like, well, generally September and October are huge months. And then I got all giddy, and then I was like, oh no, I'm going to be on my honeymoon for like a third of September. So anyway, we'll have to see how that goes. Hopefully I don't get inundated with emails and stuff.
You'll make it work.
But yeah, I've tried to make my business as automated as it could be. Anyway, the joys of being a business owner. So very good. Back to copywriting. So the next part that we're going to talk about is something that it really, I think out of everything that I read here, this was the most sort of compelling and eye-opening. And it has to do with creating, no pun intended, a compelling offer. So the companies out there who can formulate sort of an irresistible offer tend to do very, very well. One thing that you said was Domino's Pizza, delivered to your house in 30 minutes or it's free, or whatever it is that their guarantee is. That is an offer that they're making to you that is compelling. Because like I said, Domino's Pizza, not my favorite pizza, but I'll probably order it just because I might get it for free. And I know I've done that before. I forced them into giving it for free to me because they were just super, super late. I don't think they offer that guarantee here in Canada, but I said, you know what, to the dude, I was like, I'm not paying for this. So bye-bye. And then they just kind of accepted it. So anyway, that's a good example of a very compelling offer. Another one that you'll see out there is in restaurants that says, kids eat free on Mondays and Tuesdays. This is a compelling offer because as parents who are busy, they like to go out and they don't have to, make a dinner. They don't have time to make dinner. So they go out and eat some sort of fast food or whatever. When they can go out to a nicer restaurant and their kids can eat for free, I mean, of course you're going to choose to go to that restaurant over another one because it's not only cheaper for you because the kids don't have to pay. You don't have to pay for the kids. You're also saving time because you don't have to cook your own meal, et cetera, et cetera. So the example that this guy used was some sort of like Mexican restaurant. He said it's, there's 4 Mexican restaurants in the same sort of, 3-mile area of each other. And this one's probably the worst of all of them, but there's always a lineup on Mondays and Tuesdays. So it's like, it doesn't matter if your product sucks if you've got a great offer. Of course, it becomes even better if your product is great and you have a great offer. That's like a compounding effect there.
No, totally.
Yeah. And another one that they used was FedEx. Way back when FedEx first sort of came into existence, they created an offer around guaranteed overnight delivery. At the time, I think their only competition was the United States Postal Service, which I guess was not necessarily known for guaranteed overnight delivery. So people on like Wall Street and, lawyers and, whoever else had sensitive documents that just needed to be there overnight. That's where the offer of guaranteed overnight delivery became very appealing, probably even no matter the price, no matter the cost, they would pay for it, for that peace of mind. So again, another area where you can charge more, for a product that has a great offer around it. So for me, I think I wrote myself a note with an expletive. I said, I haven't really formulated a strong offer. Why the heck not? How about I say heck instead of what I wrote? Why the heck not? So this is something that made me think, and I was like, what is it that I could offer that really would make people say, wow, like this is something that is remarkable. This is something that I think I should just take a chance on because of this great offer, right? So I was thinking, what can I do? But that's just the point. If you don't have a compelling offer to your product, what can you do to create this compelling offer? And you can look into, maybe this could be tied into the benefits that you're already trying to push. So maybe my offer could be, guaranteed job placement. Okay, I don't know if I could offer that because that's quite a claim to make. But maybe there's something just below a guaranteed job placement that I could do for my offer with respect to my training course. So you got to start maybe at ridiculous, and then maybe tone it back a few notches.
Find the reasonable, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know, like what. So let's do you, Carter. You've got you do SEO services. I know you've created an offer before that I found was good, and I think it converted well enough for you with respect to the ranking of a keyword.
Yeah. So we did that for a while. We would just basically, because one of the big things that we have to prove is just, hey, we're not, some group that's just talking about SEO and then outsourcing it. I mean, we actually do it. We can actually generate rankings. So one of the things we came up with.
What was the offer?
It was we'll rank you for a keyword in 90 days or give you an Amazon gift card. So that was something. Is that the one you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah. So you said rank it on the first page of Google.
So we would rank them, and if anything, what that did, it got people's attention, and to be honest, all the business that came from it, no one was even interested in the 90-day challenge, we called it. They just wanted to, come on board as a full-time client, because once the conversation starts, we explain to them, well, we're going to rank you for a long tail keyword, which is not too difficult in our industry. And from there, that's more of just like the proof. So they understand, hey, these guys know what they're doing. They can obviously generate us results, and it gets them in the door. But everyone who took us up on the initial offer after the conversation, they're like, well, let's just start the full thing. So It worked well.
There you go. And that's kind of the same formula that that Dane Maximo was saying, right? You're talking about the transformation, the end result, which is ranking on Google
in a specified time frame,
90 days, or you get an Amazon gift card. Yeah. So there you go. That did you purposely follow that formula?
No, I didn't even think about that until now.
So you're a copywriting legend already.
I don't know about that. It almost comes down. I like offers and headlines like that are they're almost so bold, they dare you not to take to read more or to ask more. You know what I mean? Like those are the headlines. It's that copywriting that gets you, regardless, like that you really have to read it a couple of times just to make sure that you understand what they're saying, because it sounds so amazing. So those are the ones I try to produce.
Yeah, because I would use the words compelling and remarkable. If you can be compelling and remarkable with your offer, it's awesome. It's a win-win situation, because the people who are signing up for it are going to get the win that you promise, and then you're going to get the win because you've got a new customer coming in the door. But remember, you can't go
another one. There's one that I saw recently. I thought it was really good. It was because I'm into fantasy sports and stuff, and I play all those ridiculous fantasy games. But it was DraftKings or Fantasy Duel, one of the sites. They basically were for baseball. They're saying, win tonight or your money back. And I was like, what are they talking about? And literally, they basically had this sign up thing where you got to play in this one contest, and I think it's like, I don't know, you could win $5 or something. I forget what it was. But if you did not win, they would credit your account. Because, and we can go deeper into that, but basically they know what their customer acquisition cost is. So they reckon if they can actually through the door for cheaper than $5 or whatever it is, they're going to make a ton of money off you in the long run. But nonetheless, the headline stopped me in my tracks as someone who is paying attention to that industry, and I was like, what? How are they even doing that? So again, another great example of a headline that makes you just kind of start reading the next line.
And it's specific, right? You can win or you get this money back. It's also starting with a verb. Win. I'm assuming it's a verb, right? Yeah, win is a verb. So it follows some of those.
And it was a time frame because it said win tonight, or you know what I mean?
Oh, there you go. So specificity.
Yeah.
There you go. So you see these rules that we've outlined sort of cropping up into all these cool headlines over and over again.
I'm going to pass along a quick tip before I forget.
Yep.
One of the things, if this area interests you, or if you just, I think it's a good practice in general, is start creating your own swipe file. You may or may not have heard of people speak about a swipe file, but
wait, what is a swipe file, Carter?
There we go, Trevor. Right on cue. A swipe file, anytime you come across a piece of marketing, or it doesn't necessarily even have to be for copywriting. It can be a web page design that you really like, or it could be a product design, or the way that their customer service replied to an email, whatever it is. Take that, save it somewhere, just create a file on your computer, do a screenshot, make notes, whatever, but keep this swipe file. And anytime you're doing something, whether it's writing a headline for a new website, or you're trying to figure out your email sequence, pull up that swipe file, and you'll have all these good examples that you can essentially borrow from or use to inspire your own method of attack. So I definitely recommend taking swipe files, and I know all great copywriters are big on swipe files. So.
Yeah, it's standing on the shoulders of giants. Is that the right?
That's it. Yep.
That's the expression that's used here. Yeah, because that's you're taking the knowledge, the accumulated knowledge or cumulative knowledge of just rock star copywriters from ages and ages ago all the way through till now, and you're just using what they have and spinning it for your own work. Now, it's not often that you can just copy paste everything from these sort of swipe file templates and just all of a sudden it'll work for you. So there's definitely some massaging that needs to happen. And they do talk about swipe files in this ebook, but they say you need to understand the underlying rules around sort of the art and the science of copywriting. So you can't just say, oh, well, I don't even need to listen to this episode and just take this stuff and copy. Yeah, no, it's not gonna work because you need to understand the underlying principles, right? So that's why we're doing this episode, is to sort of start the conversation on what those underlying principles really are. And this is just scratching the surface, right? This is not.
There's literally copywriting is a whole industry. So, it's amazing if this interests you and you start reading more about it, the great copywriters, what they get paid, because literally, companies will hire them and pay them to come up with a sales letter or do all the copywriting, whatever, and it can have a multiplier effect in terms of what it generates in sales.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what I did. Lever point. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I hired a copywriter because I think, if this works, if he can get my conversion rate up from whatever it is now, which is pretty measly in the summer, I think it dropped to under 0.5%. If he can bring that up to something like even 2%, the ROI is astronomical. Like within the first week, he will have paid for himself and his services.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's worth paying thousands of dollars to professional expert copywriters because one, you don't have to go through the pain yourself of doing all this research and learning it and crafting it and failing and learning from your failures and so on. You just pay the money and it'll come back to you in like
well, and an important point to that though is make sure you have the numbers and the data to execute hiring. I mean, it's not going to do you any good if you're just getting started. Well, maybe it would, but it's going to have much more of a profound effect if you're like Trevor, have all this traffic coming to your site, and you know what things are converting at, and then you hire this copywriter, you work together to produce this amazing material, and you can actually judge if it worked. I wouldn't recommend if you're just getting your shop set up and hiring a copywriter right off the start, unless you have a very well-tailored plan to get a ton of eyeballs in front of whatever it is that the copywriter is working on.
And the other reason why, like Carter brought up, if you're just starting out, why that wouldn't work is because when I had my initial meeting with my copywriter that I hired, he interviewed me for 45 minutes, recorded the conversation, had it transcribed so he could use the language from it. And inside of that 45-minute interview he did with me, all he talked about was, who is your customer? What's the demographic of your customer? What does your customer want? What is your customer's pains? What do they feel? What did you feel when this happened? And like, it was all about stuff that I had to know up front. So once you know who your target market is, once you know who your customer is, once you can say exactly, what your target customer does and, on any given day and what they feel on any given day and what their aspirations and dreams are and so on and so forth. Once you can identify that and lay it out on a piece of paper or talk about it, then I think it would be okay to start having a conversation with someone like a professional copywriter, because then they can really get to creating all the stuff that will be of benefit to your potential customers. So I don't think you need to have tons of eyeballs, but I think it goes without saying that if it tends to be a cause and effect thing, where once you know who your customer is, you probably already have a bunch of traffic. So, take that with a grain of salt, if you will. So there you go. And the last thing I'll end with, unless Carter has any more to add, is I
have my book recommendation.
Oh, right. So we won't want to miss that.
And I have an app that it's going to be super, super useful around this subject.
Good. So what I'll do is I'll close out my talk and then pass it over to Carter. I'll close out mine with talking about following up with a compelling offer is a good guarantee. So like Carter said, you can have a guarantee in there, like, your money back or anything like that. To go even one step further, make it an even more compelling guarantee as well. For example, yes, I offer a full money back guarantee on my product. Okay, you can get crazy and go beyond 30 days if you like to make it a little bit more compelling. You can do 60 days, 90 days, full year, sometimes lifetime guarantee people can do. That's fine. But what I do for mine is I say, 30-day guarantee or your money back, unless you complete the entire course, you complete all the tests, all the assignments, all the exercise files, everything that I give to you, you complete it all, you go through all the videos, and you still feel like I did not deliver on what I promised, which was to teach you Java and make you into a great programmer. If you still don't feel as though I delivered on the promise, I will give you twice your money back. So I'm doing a double your money back guarantee. And I'm minimizing my risk by saying that they have to go through everything. But it just sounds compelling to the person listening to it as a potential customer, saying, look how confident this guy is in his product. He's telling me that he's essentially going to pay me for my time if I go through all the material and I don't like it.
And I cannot tell you how many things I bought just because of the guarantee. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you're like, you know what? I'll just return it. You're already planning on it. I just want to see what it is, but I'll return it. Yeah. And then because it was
you might not. Yeah. But there you go. Creating this compelling guarantee will push more people over the fence than it will lose on the money that you're like
100%.
Yeah. So that's just because I'm very confident in my product, so I'm able to do that kind of big guarantee. But it doesn't hurt to just do like a 90-day money back guarantee or a full year money back guarantee, right? Because sometimes people just forget that you even said that. They'll remember when they're going to buy it, and then they'll forget after they purchase it that you offer that year-long guarantee, and they just won't take you up on that offer.
Another little slick trick, if you will, when you're offering the guarantee. If you're doing it like in the form of a webinar or at a networking event or something like that, you can basically do the math for them. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're on a webinar with 50 people and you're like, you know what, this product is costing $200 today. If you're not satisfied, I'm going to give you double the money back. So, that's $400 a person. There's 50 people on this. What is that? People would be 5,000. That's $2,500 that I'm on the hook for. So, I mean, you could, I don't know if that math's right, but
yeah, you said 50 people at $200. 400 times 50 isn't that like $20,000 or something?
Yeah, 20,000. I really messed that up. But anyways, you can say that. Make sure you have your math right, because that would be awful to do that and have everyone like, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't even know how much he's on the hook for. But doing that, people, it really helps. There's a lot of data to back up. Like when people do that, it does help with sales. Okay, yeah. With that, you want me to jump in?
Yep, you got it.
All right. App of the week.
We should have, I'm going to totally cut you off. We should have, like, I said this before, we should have like music or something that like cues in Carter's like app and whatever of the week.
We should.
All right, go ahead.
So this week, we talked about headlines, the importance of headlines. One of my favorite tools for headlines, and all of my content team uses it to test the headlines before they publish their content pieces. It's a tool called Headline Analyzer by coschedule.com. So you'll go to coschedule.com/headline-analyzer. And that is a great tool where you can actually write in your headline and it will give you a score, 1 through 100. You want to make sure that score is above a 70 to generate a really good headline. And they have all these different factors. They break it down. It's super, super cool. So play around with that tool. It's a great resource for writing headlines. And then hold on.
So, this is immediate feedback. So you said a 70 or more?
Yeah, 70 or more.
I just typed in how to price your product and came out with a 67, which is a B+.
B+. So you need to get it over a 70.
It says it makes up a 20% common words and 40% emotional words, which I guess is not good enough in terms of how to price your product in under 15 minutes. How about that? Let me see if I can increase it from a 67. 72. There you go. Beautiful.
Isn't that a cool tool, though?
That's wicked.
A ton of fun. Yeah. Ton of fun. I love that I can mention apps and books and resources and stuff, and you get excited about them because I haven't told you about them already or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know like Peter has these things in his mind that he doesn't share with everyone else.
I just hoard all this great stuff, but it's until it's relevant in conversation or something, I don't mention it. All right, so the next thing, fantastic book. When Trevor told me we were talking about copywriting today, I ran to my bookshelf and grabbed this. Can you see it?
Sorry, I was running the.
Quit playing with the tools. It's can you see the book? All right.
Yeah.
So these are actual letters that Gary Halbert, the legendary copywriter, wrote to his son while Gary Halbert was in prison. And I forget what Gary Halbert was in prison for, but nonetheless, they're fantastic. He explains tons of stuff around copywriting. And not only that, just general business and life stuff. But I would highly recommend it because it's a fantastic look into one of the best copywriters' minds. It's absolutely fantastic. So
I would like to think that he was in jail because he wrote copy that was like misleading or something like that, and it got him fined or something like that.
Well, what's crazy is I think he actually was writing, like still doing copywriting while he was in prison. So he would make like $600,000 while he was in prison just copywriting. I mean, that's how good he was, but really great. It's called what would you say, the Baron letters? The
boron letters. Boron is like an element almost, isn't it?
I don't know, but there you go. Great read.
Is boron an element? Am I an idiot? Hold on. We're done now. You guys don't have to keep listening to this episode. We're yeah, boron is an element. It's an element. It's an element on the periodic table of the elements. Atomic number 5. Nice. 2.2 to 3 electrons per shell. Melting point.
This is completely irrelevant to everything we've talked about.
So there you go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for this lovely copywriting episode. As always, kick yourself on over to the unitedbusinessleaders.com to check out whatever it is that Carter's been talking about, or his personal blog at mcarterjohnson.com.
You got it, my man.
Boom. And then if you want the show notes for this episode, go to coderstartup.com/39. Yes, episode 39. So /39. You can get all the stuff that we just talked about in writing. And more importantly, you're going to get this awesome, co-schedule headline analyzer.
You're excited about this, aren't you?
I copy-pasted in the headline that my copywriter created, and it got a 43. That's not good. I'm pasting in the headline now and see what it gets. 44. Oh, this is not good. Anyway, I'll dive into it. But yeah, there you go. We'll end this episode now. So thanks so much for joining. And since I'm going to be on my honeymoon, who knows if there's going to be an episode? Well, there should be an episode released next week. But if there isn't, then that's because I'm on my honeymoon and I'm just too lazy. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourselves. And bye for now.